I feel like I want to say welcome back. Welcome back to me, I guess. It's been so long. I've been moving into the new space and working on new material and also just engaging a lot with the students in the current NLP practitioner training, which is wrapping up soon. But I wanted to talk to you about an opportunity for an event that I thought I would never do again. Um, so first of all, many of you may or may not be aware of just my path as a coach and healer. And so there's an event coming up October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So I want to talk a little bit about that. And I also want to talk about the three components to building a six-figure coaching or healing business, a solo practitioner business, I used to like to say. And just my path of figuring that out because I didn't learn how to do it. I had to bump my head against the wall and figure a bunch of stuff out. And if we back up a bit, there was a point in my life around 2004 where I realized I couldn't do anything else other than contribute to the world in some way. And for me, that showed up as accelerating the evolution of consciousness on the planet. Like, how do I do that? And how do I do that full time? Because I couldn't do what I was doing anymore. Not because of I just couldn't spiritually do it anymore. For those of you who understand you have a life purpose, there's a deep spiritual ache that comes along with not doing that. So if you're going to an office, or if you're going to a job that you hate, and then you're going home and there's this split between your spiritual life and your professional life, your strategies for wealth acquisition. There's a deep spiritual ache. And if you have that, you know what I'm talking about. So after my divorce around 2004, and it wasn't just my divorce, it was, first my personal development path began in prison in 1993, 1992. I'd just been convicted. I used to steal brand new sports cars off car lots for fun. But I was convicted of which, by the way, they didn't think it was fun. I thought it was mischief. They thought it wasn't. They thought I was very bad. But I was very fortunate that I went to prison at the time that I went to prison, because somebody doing life handed me a book called Awaken the Giant Within. And some of you have heard, my life path, but I'm just going to do bullet points this time, because otherwise we'd be here for a half hour. There was that, and there was getting certified as a NLP practitioner and a master practitioner. There was trying to work as a coach, in my mid 20s, but I hated sales and marketing. So I went to work for Tony Robbins and designed and helped promote and sell and train the Power to Influence sales training. We got out of that business, got into tech. My father blew his brains out. I got engaged. I tested positive for HIV. There's all these, points. Then my very gory divorce, which left me, after owning a couple of homes and having a nice little nest egg and mutual funds, I ended up being homeless, living out of my car in around 2003, 2004. And at some point, so at that point, I realized the only thing that would have my life make sense, from prison to my father's suicide to my divorce to all the other things I'd experienced along the way to HIV, was to serve the planet in some way. And I tried to go back into IT sales, which just didn't work, because I had that deep spiritual ache I talked about at the beginning of this live stream. But in 2004, nobody was teaching coaches or practitioners how to build a business. I think there might have been one. There was a couple. They were doing Rejuvenate Your Practice. I think it was called Lovely People, but nobody was really teaching anybody how to do it. So I had to figure it out. And as you heard, I used to be a sales trainer for Tony Robbins, but a field sales trainer. But the sales system didn't really fit in this business. It didn't really, there's a deeper level of intimacy and sensitivity. And so I noticed that some of the tactics that they would teach us didn't feel right to me. It wasn't that I tried them and they failed. They just felt off. And, occasionally I would try one or two of them and be like, oh, right, that got poor results. And so what we see in a lot of sales trainings now, for coaches and healers is that they're trying to bolt on. Like the reason for some people who are holistically minded or sensitive to certain tactics, they realize this doesn't feel right, and you don't want to do that in your business, which is a good thing. You should have that spiritual sensitivity. And so I had to figure my own way out. This is 2004, 2005, 2006. And at some point, I signed up 49 people in a row to a 6-month agreement. And nobody had said no, everybody had said yes. And I realized I should probably start figuring out what I'm doing. So I started actually modeling out all the structures of what I was doing, what it really took to build a 6-figure coaching practice. What were the basic components you had to do? And some of it was, at first, some of it was fluff. There was extra steps that were necessary. Some steps I tried to take out, and the results plummeted. So I put those steps back in. And so, at this point, after having over 500 clients through 6-month programs, so that's at this point in time. Back in 2008, I thought, well, I should start teaching coaches how to build their business, healers how to build their business, because that way we can accelerate the evolution of consciousness even more, right? For me, it was really about leveraging, like, you can evolve the world one person at a time, but what if, they tell 2 friends and they tell 2 friends and so on and so on, like the old, it's like an 80s shampoo commercial. And so I, systematized it, and this is the 9th and final time I'll be teaching this. And the only reason I'm teaching it this time is because I had one more NLP practitioner training, and I want those people to know how to use it. This has usually been taught as a 4 or 5 month training, 1 weekend a month. So, a bunch of weekends. We're not going to go into that much depth with this one. The reason I did it that way before was because I had my mind on integration. I thought, and for me, anytime I teach a thing, what's most important to me is that people actually get to integrate it. So, like the NLP training is 1 weekend a month, and there's practice group requirements, and we want to make sure you're not getting knowledge, but you're actually embodying it. In this case, the way we're going to manage that is I'll do a series of webinars for the class participants after the training's over for a month, and we'll make sure that you get it integrated. But it's also going to be shorter and far cheaper than it's ever been. So it's going to be 3 days. It's October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. I know it's short notice. This will be the last time I'm teaching this material, and that's fine. I'm moving on with Justice Bartlett and I are going to be doing the Romantic and the Cynic weekend workshop for couples and singles who want to both, whether you're a romantic or a cynic, it's going to be helpful to you in your relationship structures for that. So I'm shifting all my attention to the relationship material that I've been developing the last few years. But I thought I would be doing my students in the NLP training disservice if I didn't teach this one more time. But it's open to any practitioner or healer. So I'm just going to talk about the 3 components that are necessary to build a 6-figure practice. And then I'll tell you how to contact me if you want to join the upcoming training. If you really boil it down, there are 3 necessary components to building a 6-figure coaching or healing practice. The first is to have a package or a series of sessions. And it's better if those are, happen in stages, or they have a beginning, middle, and end. And that's going to be the first day of the training is helping you build your extensive offering. Now, some people just sign people up for a period of time. They're like, well, I'll talk about whatever comes up. I don't really, part of me thinks that's not that you can't get benefit from that, but I don't find that compelling. When a friend of mine originally told me that I just needed to sign people up for 6 months, I thought, well, I can't just do that. Like, I need to have some sort of framework. And I can't tell you how much this has become a selling point for people who've signed up with me. They've commented, well, it's because you had a clear framework. I know there was going to be a beginning, middle, and end. It was for a certain period of time. It's all oriented around their outcomes. And so we help in, day one of the training. I'll help you design that comprehensive offering, either 3 months or 6 months. And if you don't have it yet, we'll teach you the structure, the framework behind how to design one based on your unique skill set. And then the second component is to have a sales system and use it. But as I said earlier on, most sales systems, they're not tailored to this. And, I'm very fortunate in that I knew I couldn't do anything else. So I stuck with it until I figured out what actually worked. And so the difference between, this sales training and another sales training will be that it will organically arose. So I figured out what was working, not tried to impose it onto my business, but rather it organically arose. So this sales system, the evolutionary sales system, is really based in around service and contribution, and is, in fact, you're not selling your service. And this is one of the biggest mistakes I think people make. You're not selling your service. You're selling the client on their own outcomes and then just demonstrating that you're competent to help them get there. And I think that one major distinction is probably the single biggest problem with a lot of sales trainings for coaches and practitioners. And also it does this wonderful Aikido move. People are like, well, I don't want to sell myself, or they have self-esteem issues, or it's like, well, you're not selling yourself or your service. You're selling the client on their own outcomes and then demonstrating how you're going to help them get there. And that's it. So day 2 is all about the evolutionary sales system that arose organically out of those 49 clients in a row. And then, of course, it's been continued to be proven over the years. That's day 2. Day 3 is all about mindsets and marketing. So we'll talk about the psychology between, spirituality and money. We'll talk about the mindsets around, we'll remind you of some of the evolutionary sales principles, and make sure that you get reinforcement around the fact that you're not selling your service. And you always have to be coming from service. So, if that, really, we want to be blending Eastern spiritual principles with the embracing of Western, economics. Day 3 is all about mindsets and marketing. So we'll get into social media. We'll get into how to design an event so that people are more inclined to join or express interest, and how to make sure that, wherever you're talking at any live event. And I know that we've been, through a dearth of live events in most states in the last 18 months, but that's started to open back up. But even the structure of a webinar and how to make sure you optimize and maximize your opportunities to serve clients by putting certain structures in place, and also how to structure those talks so they get the most out of it. So that's it. It's 3 days. Message me if you are interested. I'm going to cap it at 12 people. There's 3 that are already in it. So there's 9 spots left. I might go up to 14, but I'm pretty sure I want 12 because I want to give you a lot of individual attention. Again, it's coming up this coming weekend, October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. It'll be about 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.-ish Pacific time. And if you have any questions, or if you just want to schedule, here's how it'll go. We schedule a time for us to talk. We make sure it's a fit for you, and then we go ahead and get you registered for the call. For the course. That call lasts about 45 minutes to an hour. But if you want to schedule an initial conversation with me, just go to evolutionarycompanies.com, click on the initial 30-minute conversation link, and that will let me know that you're interested, and we'll have a conversation and see if it's a fit for you. The other thing is, after over 500 one-on-one clients through 6-month programs since 2004, I've seen a lot of shit. So you will have the benefit of asking me situations like, hey, if a client does this, what do you do? And I'll be able to tell you how to handle that based on a tremendous amount of experience. So anyway, I look forward to serving you if it's appropriate for you. And thank you for allowing me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be of service to you.